A lot of people are claiming the Minneapolis Police Union is paying for Derek Chauvin's defense. So our Verified team went straight to the source to find out who's really paying those legal fees. Here's Gabe Cohen.
It's been widely reported that the Minneapolis Police Union is paying for Derek Chauvin's defense. The prosecution even brought it up in court.
The police federation, the union, is funding the defendant's defense.
But that's not exactly true. So let's verify. Is the Minneapolis Police Union funding Chauvin's defense? Our sources, the Minneapolis Police Union and the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association. In a text, the president of the police union, known as the Police Officers Federation of Minneapolis, tells me they are not paying for Chauvin's defense. The head of the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association tells me they're the ones footing the bill. So what's the difference? Well, the MPPOA is a larger association that police unions all over Minnesota pay to be part of. The Minneapolis Police Union is a member. And since Derek Chauvin was on the force when the incident happened, he was a member too. Now, one of the benefits of that membership is a legal defense fund to represent officers if criminal charges come up after a critical incident. Even though Chauvin was fired after George Floyd's death, the MPPOA's bylaws say he's entitled to that defense, since he was acting in the scope of his duties as a police officer. I spoke with Brian Peters, the head of the MPPOA. He tells me we can't pick and choose which cases we're going to defend or not defend. Eric Nelson, Chauvin's attorney, is one of the lawyers the MPPOA works with. How much it'll cost them, Peters doesn't know. They haven't gotten any bills, though he says their prior cases have run between $375,000 and $500,000. He says people are calling to donate, but they're not taking that money, though other organizations are helping Chauvin with other expenses. So we can verify, no, the Minneapolis Police Union is not funding Derek Chauvin's defense. It's the larger Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association paying those legal fees. With your Verify, I'm Gabe Cohen.